to Denmark to go to the University of Copenhagen originally, found cohousing, and then ultimately found a bunch of seniors who were not only having a very fulfilling second half of their life, but were having as much fun as they'd ever had.
This is a radical shift in the way housing gets built in this country. Housing is primarily a consumer product. It's a service industry. I build it, you buy it. I'll give you an extra. I'll change that color on the countertop, and you will be happy forever. And it's not, and that's really the extent of interaction between the producers, the developers, and consumers.
It's up to elders to take back elderhood and to earn elderhood.
Paradoxically, one of the gifts that we have is the gift of time. You know, we think, well, what is he saying? We're near the end. But in this next phase of our life, of our journey, we do have more time in the present. We're not hindered or taken up by kids who need to take a lot of our energies, or our jobs which need a lot of energies. Some of those things may still be happening, but by definition, in this phase of the journey, the intensity of those experiences or those responsibilities has passed. So we've got time. So how can we use that time?
It's hard because most of us here all of us have been very active doers, and we're used to defining ourselves that way. In fact, I kind of laugh when I think people would say to somebody, well, you know, how are you? Well, I'm all right, but I didn't get anything done today. And then I think, well, when my grandmother was my age, I didn't ask her what she got done. I was just happy that she was there. But we've not necessarily learned to value ourselves in terms of just being who we are.
I suppose I'm in denial. I'm 80 years old and I just feel still very much alive and still very bright and pretty active, and it's hard to believe I'm going to, you know, get more frail and maybe care someday.
The two of us could have moved out of our other house here as much as 10 years before we did. I wouldn't have been quite ready, but if I had, and we're here, I would have been better off. I wish, you know, should have had the idea 10 years sooner.
We should have.
We ended up getting this huge house on a custom cul-de-sac, and everybody welcomed us into the neighborhood. Okay, so you think, wow, community, right? And we made a little pod where everybody could come and gather. But the one problem was that we all had attached garages. Now think about it. People go from their house with their person and their shopping list. They get in the car and they drive away. So I'm a walker. I'd always walk my dog, and so you go down to the end of the street, there was a big walking swale that went on for 10 miles. Even walking my dog, I didn't see people in my neighborhood. So I would have to go out of my way to go to their house, knock on their door, interrupt what they're doing to socialize with them. And I didn't know anybody in town.
I've been up here 22 years, and I lived out here about 7 miles east of Nevada City, up in what they call Cascade Shores. And I was like at the edge of the forest, so I was the only house around there with my Rottweilers. And I felt safe and everything, but I had 4¼ acres and a large house, and I was teaching. I came up here retired. I ended up teaching part-time and full-time and so forth. And pretty soon I got a lot of serious medical problems, and I had to start cutting back. And my kids were really concerned about me being up there alone and getting closer access to medical facilities and whatnot. And they knew they would never get me into a senior place.
You would do that in a senior situation, especially to help seniors to get out of denial. I mean, around, the realities, I don't remember things as well as I used to. I can't drive anymore. The scenario can't be living in my home and imagining any quality of life compared to what was when I was, super mobile and, had a community through work and had a community through church which I could drive to and had 4 kids that kept me connected to all these other things.
And after both my parents died in nursing homes, I said, like I think most of us do, that won't happen to me.
I mean, I just think that would be awful to go to some new place when you have all these, if you have a lot of connections with, with your community of people, and I think that's just huge, part of our interest.
Elderly people tend to have the same kind of problems, that is social isolation. Spouses die and they're living alone, and they tend to get farmed out somewhere. And that doesn't happen here. It's impossible to be farmed out here in cohousing.
One of the real problems in age is isolation. Your friends die. The people that, you're often alone in your home. Your husband dies. I mean, or your partner is gone. So the world is shrinking.
When we saw the ad in the paper for cohousing, immediately that struck me as maybe this is the next step. So we became involved in the process, and I guess, I don't know exactly why I got into cohousing, but after being involved in cohousing, I would measure the start of that from the very beginning of formulating the project. I would say it's the social networking. It's the connection with people. And there have been times when I've thought, this is my family. This is the group of people that are here day in, day out, that I can connect with, that know who I am, that support me in all sorts of ways.
I think there is a major need for a kind of connection that is shed as you age, and you have to make a big effort to create it. And it is effort, really.
There's not a ton of opportunities to, for most people, to live within walking distance of their buddies, basically. And in so many ways, as far as I'm concerned, the concept of cohousing allows for, the people to live next door to grow into very, 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 very meaningful people in your life.
By that point, my grandmother was in her 90s, and she still had some friends, but her friends were in nursing homes. And she lost her peer support. And while she had her familiar support, she lost that important social mirror that focuses back to us who we are in context of our own generational time. And so she aged in place. This is your typical aging in place model. And she did it with the love and support of her family. What she was denied was the social contact of her peers. And so that's what makes me really jazzed about cohousing, because you have the opportunity to do it intergenerationally, with family if you choose, and certainly with peer support. And I think that's really important.
I don't know whether this is from direct experience. I think my assumption is that if you're in loving contact with other people, it's going to be conducive to better health.
And here, you just don't feel isolated. And that's a wonderful feeling, to feel like you're among friends. And so I think that's the most important thing.
Well, I can understand if you were in the position that something, I mean, to me and to us, I think, we have very good relationships with our kids, but we wouldn't want to move in with our kids. And we wouldn't want to leave this community where we've been since we were first married. I mean, ridiculous to think about leaving it. But how many of these people, like for instance over in the University of Retirement, have come from all over the country and they don't know anybody except maybe they're close to their kids or something?
One of my neighbors is already up outside also, and we're going, I wonder if something's wrong. So we run down to the common house, you know, we get the key, we open Sue's, I ring the doorbell, I open the door, I say, is everything okay? And it turned out it wasn't. And we had to call 911. And well, it turned out it wasn't anything serious, so that was a good part. But, you know, there's neighbors to respond when something like that happens.
But I think that keeping active and having to work and think, probably, if they don't help you to live longer, at least they help you to live in a healthier fashion. So.
It's not each of us as individuals, it's collectively we're going to come to a opinion, decision, sense that we are all comfortable with.
Every single senior co-housing dinner that I went to, 4 or 5 people would get up more or less right after dinner and go do something together.
Okay, here we go.
We come to agreement about things, and we operate with consensus, by consensus. Maybe some of the others have told you that too. And it really works. And we're very careful of each other's feelings. And so every problem that we've had, we've been able to work out. To the most, I think, to everyone's satisfaction.
In this kind of communication, our intention is to listen, is to understand the other person, is to take my opinion and your opinion and reach the third, the 1 + 1 = 3, because the third, the group consensus, if we may call it that, is really what we're trying to get at in group process.
No, it's about the honestly, no.